Hey there, I know it's a little bit late in the week as we come up on another weekend, but I thought I would stop in with some thoughts on the weekend box office that was July 6th through 8th, 2018. What you're looking at is, of course, the top 10 from the weekend. And let's jump into things. Number one was Ant-Man with nearly $76 million at $75,812,000, which is much bigger than the first movie, but still smaller than movies such as Thor: The Dark World. And you have to start to wonder if Ant-Man is going to get a trilogy, especially when they didn't necessarily sign off on characters such as Doctor Strange, who had a bigger release getting a trilogy, he had a bigger release in a less lucrative time of the year than the middle of summer. I certainly hope so, considering I think that the Ant-Man character and the movies themselves have been good enough to warrant a trilogy, but I really don't think that Marvel is going to continue to put them in the heart of the summer. I think that, especially if the Fox acquisition goes through, and I'll have a video on this sometime fairly soon, I think if the Fox acquisition goes through and they end up getting the rights to the X-Men and Fantastic Four, they're going to start putting out 4 movies a year instead of the 3 that they're doing now, and I think that this type of property will fit well into the first quarter, of the year on years where neither Black Panther nor Captain Marvel come out. I think this is the property they might slip in there. At number 2, you have Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, cresting the $28.5 million mark. At this point in the week, it's actually trending down $160 million from the first one. Really not sure that they started this franchise back up with the best ideas. And I think that is translating not only to the screen, but also to the box office. Obviously, still making a ton of money, and they're going to keep making these things as long as they can find people that'll pay the money for the ticket. But to me, this new series just does not have the pop and horror aspect that the first movie itself did. Number 3 for the weekend was Incredibles 2, just under $28.5 million at $28,406,423, and you have to start wondering if Disney is kicking itself for this. This is the first animated movie to cross the $500 million mark domestically. And being as that is the case, did they wait too long? They could be 3, 4, 5 movies into this thing at this point. And at Pixar, they don't really put out terrible movies, so you have to believe that there would be the creative juices there necessary to keep the franchise fresh that many movies in. But did they wait too long in bringing this movie? And could this movie have been even bigger a little bit earlier as well? So if you had this debut 2 years ago and you were coming out with another one this summer, Disney would be earning money over money, especially when you look at the money that the Marvel movies have been making, as well as the live-action adaptations of the Disney movies themselves. At number 4, you've got The Purge, the first Purge, at $17,374,280, and this is, to me, an extremely confusing franchise. I don't get the appeal, let alone the fact that there are 4 movies in at this point, 4 or 5. But this was the most expensive installment of the series, and it had the smallest opening weekend. So this series itself, I think it's 4 movies over 6 years or something like that. This series might be taking a nap soon just to maybe recharge their own battery. At number 5, you've got Sicario, Day of the Soldado. I don't speak Italian. At $7,624,500, and it is already creeping up on its budget as well as the domestic run numbers for the original. So you have to imagine somewhere someone is kicking around a script for a third movie, because that is how Hollywood works these days. At 6, you have Uncle Drew at $6.6 million. In fact, if you look at that number, it's $6,606,000, with 643 being the leftovers there. There's a lot of sixes, pointing obviously to something evil about uncles, and as I am a fairly new uncle, I can tell you that we're not the nicest bunch. At number 7, Ocean's 8, a little over $5 million. At number 8, a movie called Tag is still making $3 million at the box office on a weekend, which is utterly confusing if not for the fact that Jeremy Renner is full of charisma. Number 9, Won't You Be My Neighbor, at $2.5 million, the little movie that could. And at 10, you have Deadpool 2, and this is probably the last weekend that Deadpool 2 is going to be over the $1 million mark. We've got a little bit of an influx in the box office coming this weekend, as well as the fact that it's probably going to drop another 50% or so. That seems to be how movies go at the box office. But still, over $300 million domestic. It's a pretty good take for a movie like Deadpool, even if it was on a bit of an inflated budget. A bit of an inflated budget where the numbers and the visual effects themselves didn't necessarily translate all the time. But good movie, solid movie, good sequel, and depending on what they do, they're going to make a Deadpool 3. I know Ryan Reynolds is waffling about it. They're going to make a Deadpool 3, and they should, because both of the movies have been better than average and have brought in buco bucks for their studios. So other notables from the weekend box office, sliding down to 13, you have Solo, who made over $1 million again, and whose total is at $210 million domestic. And I think that what we're getting here as Solo lasts in the box office a little bit longer is maybe the best of this bad storm situation. You want this movie to do poorly enough that there is a shakeup in Lucas in the studios over there, Lucasfilm, but you don't necessarily want it to do bad enough that Disney starts to have second thoughts about the franchise. Doesn't look likely, considering the box office windfalls that all of the movies have been to this point, save the last couple. But I think that it's such a rich universe and so many things could be done with it that you're really willing to risk a stinker every once in a while if you get 3 or 4 good ones in the meantime. I really don't think that Kevin Feige is going to be in the running for this, because he's doing just such a bang-up job at Marvel, unless Disney and Bob Iger feels that they have someone groomed to take over the Marvel stuff, and then Kevin Feige moves over to Lucasfilm, which is, obviously that's a rumor. You've got a heavy hitter like Feige out there still, but I don't know how that's going to go. Moving down to 15, Avengers Infinity War made $936,335, which is its first weekend under the $1 million mark, and it looks, at this point, it looks like it will not catch Black Panther's domestic numbers, which is really impressive, considering the movie has made over $2 billion at the box office. That a $2 billion movie, a $2 billion worldwide movie, will not be that studio's number one domestic movie at the box office is incredible. Just incredible. Sliding down to 21, Rampage made $360,000. This is interesting because Skyscraper comes out this coming weekend. Rampage was a domestic sort of bomb, not yet making over $100 million. It's hard to say it's a domestic bomb, but I believe the budget on it was $120 million. However, worldwide, that movie has already made $425 million, further exploiting the bankability of Dwayne Johnson. And this is coming, obviously, on the heels of Jumanji, which made nearly $1 billion worldwide on a $90 million budget. So this is turning into quite a run for Dwayne Johnson, and I am excited to see how far this goes for him and what type of bankability he really turns into. It would be interesting if he stepped away from the DCEU and that Shazam character and entered the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and to see the upper limits, perhaps, of his bankability at the box office, especially as he's becoming a worldwide star, which is, I won't say perplexing, but it is definitely interesting, considering that most of his notoriety came in a uniquely American WWE experience. So that is, for me, that will definitely be something that is interesting to watch. He has really built a worldwide brand for himself through social media, of all things. So there are notes to be taken there just on a person-to-person level. But moving down even further, sliding all the way down to number 41, in its 21st weekend, Black Panther made $31,000 for a domestic total of $699,875,819. This movie continues to inch and creep and slide its way towards the $700 million box office mark for its domestic numbers, and you have to imagine that Disney's just going to buy theater space until this thing crosses the $700 million mark, which is just a massive number. And we talked a little bit about Feige earlier, but you really can't underestimate the impact that guy has had on Hollywood. If not for the fact that everything is trying to go to a universe, a movie universe, a cinematic universe, if not the box office numbers themselves, if not the fact that... here's what I'm getting to here. Ant-Man just had its sequel drop to $76 million. Ant-Man, 10 years after Iron Man, was a risk and a gamble. 10 years after Iron Man was a risk and a gamble. When you think back that far, really, the only characters from Marvel that anyone cared about were Wolverine and Spider-Man. And Kevin Feige has made Ant-Man a bankable commodity. One thing that is interesting for me to think about from this is going forward, the luster that Marvel as a property, as a brand, will have. When you think of DC is still Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. Green Lantern had a movie, didn't turn out so well. People know who Green Lantern is, though. Not everyone, but people. Trying to think, just the big ones. I mean, who else is there for DC? Green Arrow? Like you're diving into the depths a little bit now, but those are all characters that people know about. For Marvel, everyone knows Spider-Man. Everyone knows Wolverine. Now, everyone knows Iron Man. Everyone knows Captain America. Everyone knows Thor. There are $76 million worth of people in the United States that know Ant-Man. Ant-Man. I mean, you think back 2 years, Black Panther. No one knew the name Black Panther as a superhero. When you said Black Panther, no one associated it with comic books. Anyway, I'm off on a tangent now, but we aim to make this sort of thing a weekly discussion here on the channel. So if you like things like this, if you like box office talk, we're going to be getting into a lot of movie reviews on the channel as well. I'm not sure if we're going to do the whole trailer reaction thing or if we're going to do any television here on the channel. But if movies are something that you look forward to, I would appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. And if my voice sounds familiar, it's because I'm one of the guys from Strip Cover Lit. And if you like books, Strip Cover Lit is the channel on which we do this sort of thing, but with books. So I will leave a link to that channel in the description below.